What's happening? This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. We're back. Hey, Vic, I see you. I see you, brother. I see you in Japan, man. We're excited about today's show. Yes, we are. Hope you are excited too. I hope everything's going great in your life. I hope you're telling your loved ones that you love them. That is important. And I just hope you're doing good things, and good things are coming to you. That said, this is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live, and we are sponsored by New York Hardcore Comics, The Organic Grill, The Texas Silver Rush, DTFM Vinyl Distro, Generation Records, 126 Hardcore Clothing, and Mad Vintage, who is coming on the show today at the break to tell us about his business of vintage T-shirts and stuff like that. How's everybody doing? Chris Hoffman, what's happening? Yes, the past two shows were fantastic. This one will be as well. Larry Kelly laying low. All right. What are you, on the lam? Did we talk about that? You know what on the lam is from? You know what the saying on the lam? You know where that came from? Anybody? Listen, we're going to get to all that, Thomas. We're going to talk to Vic about all that stuff. So if you're new to the show, we do questions. The last part of the show, we take questions from around the world. We don't pummel our guests with questions as soon as they get on. There's a format here, so we must adhere to it. There has to be some semblance of organization and civility in this world. Chaos does not rule the day, you know? That said, speaking of chaos, what's up, bro?
Did I miss any pummeling?
Did someone say pummel?
Am I late for the pummeling?
I'm here for the 3 o'clock pummeling. May I help you? What are you working?
Well, the sort of working.
Yes, Thomas. Yeah, that's the deal. We do a little of this. We bring our guests on. We bounce the ball back and forth, and then the last part of the show, we open it up. We take questions from around the world. So there you go, and we'll get to some stuff along the way. I know, right? Ray Hogan's like, where the fuck is the guest? There's a lot of that lately. I know, wow. Right? It's okay, man. We'll pummel them into submission.
You know what? We'll send Ray Hogan to do some pummeling for us.
Yeah, there you go.
The pummeler.
I'm the pummeler. So let's do photo of the day.
Yeah, definitely.
Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's photo of the day. Wrong answers only, please. Here we go. Photo of the day. Boom. Wrong answers only, please. There you go. Is it? Hey, Chris Contos, what's up, man? It's clobbering time. What do we got? Come on. Wrong. Is it My Bloody Valentine? You know what I was going to say? What's the other one? Mars Volta. Is it Mars Volta? Right?
He's got the haircut for sure.
He's got the fro. Is it Mars Volta?
Yeah.
Is it REO Speedwagon? Is it Hall & Oates? 2 Hall & Oates in a row. What's the great line? What do you think? Hall & Oates like each other? They hate each other's fucking guts. That's the great line. If you're ever in band management.
Yeah.
If you're ever in band management, that's the great line.
I believe they actually have a restraining order right now.
Yeah.
The two of them.
All right. Our guest says, I wish I could put this up. Is it Kate Reddy and me on a bad hair day? What do you think? Hall & Oates like each other? They hate each other's fucking guts. Yep. Is it Thin Lizzy? Good one. Is it Cinderella? Somebody save me. That fucking first Cinderella record's great. Is it Danny Lilker with Sleeves and Jeff from Sworn Enemy's side project? Okay, now we're getting really creative here.
We're getting specific now.
Is it Art Garfunkel and Sebastian Bach? Is it Edgar Winter and Neil Sean? Good one, Eddie. Oakland represent. That's a good one. Yep. There you go. Is it silence equals death? Is it yo homies? Okay. How about another one?
How about another one?
Another one just like the other one. Okay, you know what? Let's do this. Right answers only, please. Here we go. Right answers only, please. Enough comedy for one friggin' Wednesday afternoon. Right answers only, please. Here we go. Boom. Is it? Oh, all right. Chris Contos, you're kind of funny today. Is it Abby Hoffman and Joni Mitchell? Good one, bro. Is it? Is it AIC? Is it AIC? Is it Alice in Chains? Is it Alice in Chains? Is it AIC? Is it Alice in Chains?
Hey,
Is
I
it
see.
negative? Is it Negative Approach? Is it Alice in Chains? What do we got?
This is yes, this is of course Alice in Chains. This was about 2009, I believe, at Irving Plaza. This is right when they returned, when William Duvall stepped in and they put out the Black Gives Way to Blue album, which is a fantastic record, obviously following Lane Staley's death. And I, like everybody else, had a lot of reservations of if they were going to still be as awesome, but they really have been. And because Jerry carries half the vocal load anyway, and those harmonies and everything, and William Duvall is a great singer. He also plays guitar really well. And this show was amazing because it was the first time seeing them back in New York. And just a great, and I saw them probably every time since then.
This is
Sean Kinney, yes.
Sean Kinney, who is the original Alice in Chains drummer, who still plays drums with them.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, obviously Lane and Mike Starr both died. The original bass player died,
right?
And Lane died. But Mike Inez has been in the band since you know, for a long time now. So
right.
And yeah, I mean, Mike Starr and Lane, you know, they were deep into it.
You know, you sent these to me, and I went on a little bit of a Alice in Chains deep dive. And do you know how old Lane Stanley was when he passed away?
I don't.
35.
Yeah.
He was young.
That was a really terrible story.
Terrible? How about this? Drugs are bad. And if you do a lot of them, chances are you will die.
Yeah. No, I mean, the way they found him, everything, but what a voice, like what a haunting voice. Everything they did.
He was an incredibly talented guy.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that band, and you're right. Jerry Cantrell sang a lot more than people like.
Yeah.
I didn't know until I did a deep dive.
Those.
You want to hear a little? You want to hear a little Lane Stanley, Alice in Chains story, personal story. So I was the stage manager at 3G Stage here on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. Of course, 3G Stage is the stage where we shot Biohazard Punishment, Typo Negative, Black Number One. We did Salt. When I was the stage manager there, we did Suicidal Tendencies, Send Me Your Money. We did we did Salt and Pepper, Shoot Shoot. We did Big Daddy Kane, I Do Work. So I was the stage manager at 3Gs, and that was the connection. How when we did Biohazard and Typo Negative, how I got those shoots onto the stage. We didn't really have money, but I had the keys to the place.
Nice.
Anyway, while I was the stage manager, Alice in Chains came in with the production company, of course, to shoot Angry Chair, right?
Oh, nice.
Sitting in an angry chair. And in the middle of the day, we had a big stage, a big film stage, and we had a smaller insert stage. Like if you were shooting food and stuff like that, it was a way smaller stage for like, small product shots and stuff like that. Right. So the production company not only rented the big room for the video, but they also rented the small insert stage for Lane, right? And basically, in the middle of the day, they shut down the whole production so he could go into the small stage and take his medication. And then everybody sat around for an hour like this until he came back out and continued. It was more like 2 hours. Like everyone was just sitting around waiting for this guy to come, and I must say it was one of the sort of most tragic instances of enabling that I've ever witnessed. I thought it was like borderline criminal that they actually set this guy up, for that behavior just so they knew
who he was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this way he didn't just disappear into the city somewhere.
I mean, that's part of it too. I mean, I guess you're better off sort of, having him somewhat,
monitored.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very sad. I mean,
very sad, very sad.
But
if not for the grace of God, there go I. And so there you go. But their music lives forever. And I've said before, it's hard for me to listen to some of that Alice in Chains stuff. It's a little rough for me, man.
Well, it does get dark. It takes you to dark places,
This one's about drugs. This next one's about drugs. This one's about drugs.
Hello, drugs. It's drugs again.
Hey, this next song's about my dad that was in Vietnam. This one's about drugs. Jeez, Moses, Mother Mary and Joseph. All right, bro.
Yeah.
Let's bring our guest on. I'm excited about today's guest.
Absolutely. Hey, I got one thing before you go.
Oh, you know what?
Interesting.
Funny you should mention this one thing. What are you, a poet?
I hear things.
What are you doing? A little poetry tomorrow here in the? This is in the 96 Tiers Basement Lounge. For those that are wondering, for those that might remember, 96 Tiers is right next to the old A7. Used to be Sal's Pizzeria. So Steven's doing poetry tomorrow in the basement of the old Sal's Pizzeria, right next to the old A7. Now,
that is correct. That is correct. I was invited to do this thing called One Heroic Night, and I will be doing a 12 or 15 minutes, which is probably about 5 pieces, and straight up old school poetry reading. So should be interesting, doing it with a guy named Matt Proctor, who I never met, and a guy named Billy Lamont, who I've known for many, many years. It's another New York poet. But anyone who's...
What are you, a poet?
And I didn't even know it.
You're like dropping knowledge like a poet, don't you know it?
Exactly. So this should be fun.
Maybe I'll come down for this because it's not past my bedtime.
No, and I'm the first one on. I told
you are?
Yeah. I told them I wanted to go first.
You know me, bro. If I had it my way, man, the whole world would operate from 6 a.m. to 12 and then shut down.
Life would be a matinee.
Don't worry, I'll be in charge. I'll be in charge soon.
Awesome.
Yes, and I will be a gracious, kind dictator.
Exactly. Cruel but just.
I will be mean but fair. All right, bro. I'll talk to you soon.
I'll see you Sunday.
See you later. All right. Bye. Well, there you have it. Hardcore Shutterbug. This is the one, the only New York Hardcore Chronicles Live, and we are sponsored by New York Hardcore Comics, XXX, The Organic Grill, the Texas Silver Rush, DTFM Vinyl Distro, Generation Records, Mad Vintage, and 126 Hardcore Clothing. They're a streetwear brand for restless individuals who don't compromise. They are about being positive, spontaneous, and true to yourself, my friend. For years, they experimented with several printing methods and materials and collaborated with a large number of designers and illustrators, always giving room for fresh perspectives. She's fresh, while retaining the hardcore attitude. Get in touch with them. Ramp up your game at www.126clothing.com. That said, let's bring on our guest. Let's clear the deck, and here we go. Today's guest is a Krishna core guitarist, vocalist, bassist, author, and astrologist hailing from New York. He is known for his work with the bands Beyond, Inside Out, Shelter, Burn, and of course, 108. He's also noted for the incorporation of Hindu spirituality into his music. Please welcome, coming at us from the land of the rising sun, Japan, Mr. Vic DiCara. Hey, man. How are you?
Thank you.
How's Japan?
Early.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry that we aroused you from your slumber.
it's okay. It's like the old days living in the temple.
Yeah. How long have you been in Japan?
14 or 15 years now.
And what initially brought you to Japan?
My wife, she wanted to come here.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. So let's have at it. All right. How did you come up? Did you grow up in a musical household? How did music come into your life?
Yeah, I would say that it was a musical household, although my parents weren't really musicians, but they were huge music lovers. So they liked rock, like they liked a lot of good 60s rock. So I loved Led Zeppelin and The Doors. And my dad also, the Beatles also, like we used to listen to a lot of the Beatles. When we would like play it really loud and sing along and stuff like that, play it out the window of the second floor while we were working in the backyard or something.
Did you
Long Island
grow up?
kind of.
Did you grow up in Long Island?
Yeah, that's a very Long Island thing to do, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it was a Long Island life.
Yeah.
Was it? I mean, dare I ask what part of Long Island?
Sure. Ronkonkoma,
Ronkonkoma.
the only lake on the island.
That's right. That's right. So basically, a lot of the classic rock stuff comes into your orbit as a young person. Did you have older brothers or sisters or anything like that?
No. That's part of the DiCara recipe is only child.
I see. So really, it was just stuff that sort of filtered down to you initially from your parents.
Yeah, I really wasn't doing any of my own searching of music or anything, just because the stuff my parents were playing was good. Like that stuff is really great.
Yeah.
So also I kind of like whatever pop songs. I sort of liked some pop songs too at the time. Their pop was also sometimes Devo would, like Devo had some hits, Talking Heads. I was really into Blondie. I think that was my thing. Like personally, I had a crush on Deborah Harry.
There you go.
So yeah, I got really into Blondie. It was maybe in a sense I had like a little bit of a sprout of punk even originally.
Yeah. What was the first live music that you went to? What was like your first concert, stuff like that?
Well, I think I would have to say it was the Battle of the Bands in my high school.
There you go. Did you go to Ronkonkoma High School?
Yeah, what was it called? Sachem.
Okay.
It is like, yeah. But you know who was playing at the Battle of the Bands? It was this band called Third Planet, which was the precursor to Beyond.
Ooh. Tom Capone.
Tom was singing.
Tom was singing.
Yeah, so he was jumping around like a lunatic with a hooded sweatshirt on while these guys were playing like crossover. The guy from 1.6 Band was in it.
Huh.
The guitar player from 1.6 later on. So these guys were playing these intense like crossover New York thrash mosh things, and Tom Capone was just jumping around like a lunatic, and they were like playing monkey jungle sounds over the PA, and he was like scratching his armpits. I was completely blown away. I was like, wow, this is great. This is interesting.
Kids my age doing something radical.
Yeah. And also they got actually disqualified because they started a riot.
I think he told me that story. I think Tom told me that that story, how that or it was in that Beyond doc or something.
Could be.
Yeah, that's how. So seeing this, I mean, how old were you? 14, 15, 16 maybe?
Yes, something like that.
Yeah.
16 or 17, something like that.
And in what regard did this inspire you?
Yeah, I thought, well, honestly, what they did was really good, artistically speaking. Like it was so much light years ahead of everybody else.
Right.
All the other bands were like covering Rush or something, like that was the best thing they could do.
Right.
But these guys played all their original songs and they were like really incredible. So it was just inspiring, like you said, like, wait, these guys walk in the same hallways that I do. They use the same lockers that I do. I could do this. So I thought of giving it a try.
Yeah, I think that, and I can relate because growing up, there was always this sort of, what's the term? I don't want to say hero worship, but seeing music, it seemed I was so disconnected from the Rolling Stones or the Grateful Dead or the stuff that I was exposed to as a young kid growing up here in New York. You know, the Allman, whatever. And then once I saw, you know, I went to my first show, whatever, and I saw kids my age doing it. It was extremely empowering, so to speak. Yeah. At what point did you think about did you why did you pick up guitar? When did you pick up guitar?
I thought girls like guitarists, so I wanted to try out a guitar because my mom had put me in piano lessons.
Another guy who piano.
Yeah, I saw Ian, right?
Yeah,
is that the reference?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, piano is like really important, I think, because if you do play the piano, you sort of understand how music fits together, how different parts of music fit together. So I tried playing synthesizer in a punky band, and they didn't like me. They kicked me out. And then they told me to play bass instead. They said, well, if you learn bass, you can come back. And then I told my parents, these guys told me to play bass. So for my birthday or something, they got me a bass. But it was like the most embarrassing bass I've ever seen in my life. And I can play anything. Like I could play BC Rich, Weird Shapes, or anything, right?
Right. Was it
like a Gene Simmons,
a K bass or something?
It was something weird. It was like straight off Gene Simmons, like Kiss or something. So I was like, I think I won't really be playing the bass yet. And then my dad had a guitar. He had a Les Paul, so I picked it up. And
your dad had a Les Paul.
Yeah.
And wow. Okay. Well, that helps, right?
Yeah.
Hey, let's take a question from Ray Hogan. He says, "Can you show us the mural behind you and discuss?"
Yeah, I'm kind of sick of green screens, but it's my camera. I do YouTube a lot, so I have one. I could turn it off, and then I'd probably look less like a vampire. But this is just like a cool part of India that I really like. And somebody did this cool mural there because it's like a holy land, but it's very polluted.
Yeah.
So what it's saying in the back is this particular dragon here, the guy's name is Kalia, and he's saying this guy is plastic. So like because plastic is like polluting the river. This particular guy in this story polluted the area. And then Krishna mashed on his head.
Got it. Why is India so polluted? I mean, everything I kind of India is the government that corrupt that they can't get a handle on it? Why is there just so much what's the word I'm looking for? It's I see footage of India and it's a mess. It's sanitary wise such a mess.
Yeah, well, part of it is the government. Yeah. It is in fact out of control. The other thing is, the poor becoming rich, sort of wreck themselves becoming rich. Huh. So it's like a third world country is getting opportunities to make money. So they're going to wreck themselves. They're going to fall all over themselves to get this money. So they're building things for other. I mean, it's the same thing as China. China's a mess also.
I was about to say that also. I just saw a very interesting documentary about the whole recycle sham and how all this stuff is just shipped to China where they burn it and just bury it, and stuff's not getting recycled. It's just getting shipped to third world countries that are taking money for it. Corrupt governments are taking money from it and putting it in of course poor neighborhoods and exposing the people to these toxins. It's pretty horrible.
Yeah,
but we've got a long way to go, right? But back to the music. So picking up guitar. Did you what was your first sort of musical experience? What was your first band?
My first band was called Toxic Phlegm.
Good one.
It was with Kevin Egan, who's also in Beyond.
Oh wow, the singer for Beyond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was because at that time, after I picked up my dad's guitar, I liked Metallica, and they had Master of Puppets. It was like 86-ish or something, right? That era when all those records came out.
Right.
So then I put it on and I tried to play along with the record, and I could play along to The Thing That Should Not Be because it was simple enough. So that kind of hooked me. And so I kind of learned how to play metal guitar, and these guys were kind of impressed. These friends of mine in high school were kind of impressed. So they took me into their band Toxic Phlegm. And then I got to play guitar in Toxic Phlegm. I didn't get any girlfriends from that though.
Yeah, it's you know, it's a long, hard road.
Yeah.
You mentioned Metallica. Any other any other guitar players inspired you early on? Was there anybody you saw that really influenced you and inspired you early on as a young player?
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned like the hero kind of thing that goes on with arena rock.
Yeah,
where I felt like there is a hero thing in hardcore too, but it's like the heroes are kind of like living in the next room over.
Sure.
So like Tom Capone, he kind of became like a guru or like a hero to me, like right away, although he's also my best friend. You know what I mean? So like he was like showing me everything. He was like,
Tom Capone's a talented guy.
Yeah, extremely.
Yeah.
So he's like, here, listen to this record, listen to that record, read this fanzine, check this out. So he was into everything from Venom to, from Venom to Youth Is Today. So I got like he like gave me like all this stuff. And then people were like going gaga. Like a lot of New York hardcore stuff was interesting to a lot of people at the time, not just hardcore kids. So like people were really into Bad Brains records and Crumbsuckers, Chromags. It was appealing to a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I got all exposed to all that. The first band that I did see live was at Sundance, and I'm pretty sure it was Agnostic Front or the Chromags. Either one.
Chromags were in 1985, 86. They were. I saw them. They were great. They brought two things together. They were pretty great. What was the band? Did this come after Reach Out?
Reach Out. Okay, so we were doing Beyond, and we were sort of like, when you're a kid, if you sell 100 CDs, I mean, what is it, tapes? If you sell like 100 tapes,
100
you
cassettes,
feel like, man, I sold 100 tapes. Like,
yeah.
I'm basically like Jim Morrison or something here. So we were like, we're kind of riding high, like, holy crap, we're Beyond,
Yeah.
So we were like, let's help these other kids, make bands and stuff. So our friends that were like around the Beyond scene were like, oh, we want to have this band called Reach Out. And so Tom was like, all right, I'll sing for you guys. And then they were like, okay, great. So they sang together, so they wrote songs together, and then it was time to record the record. And Tom was like, well, I don't want to sing right now. So then I was like, all right, I'll sing for you guys.
So you sing on this?
Yeah.
Wow. And this, okay, so I got chronologically, I got a little mixed up. So your stint in Beyond came before that.
This is like in the middle of that.
In the middle of it. Tell us. So how did you sort of land in Beyond?
Again, it's like politics and interesting drama that's on a high school scale. So it's like, I was with Alan Cage first before I was in Beyond, which Alan Cage is like another one of my heroes.
Right. Great.
So, so what happened was after Toxic Phlegm, I did my own thing called Socially Incorrect.
Right. Which
is pretty decent. Toxic Phlegm wasn't, but Socially Incorrect was something reasonably good. So what we did in those days, we would make a demo tape and pass it around the halls.
Sure.
In school. So then these, the cooler dudes, like the higher ups in the high school scene, listened to my tape, and they were like, oh, this guy's good. Let's put him in our band. So they put me in a band called Inner Strength. And Alan Cage was playing drums for them, and he wasn't even from our school, and he was like even like 2 years older than us. So then Beyond had made their demo also at the time, and they had this other bass player. They had other people in it, right? But then those other guys were like metalheads, more than hardcore people, and Tom wanted to go into the hardcore scene. So he didn't like the metalheads didn't fit. So I'm not really quite sure if he like booted them or if they left or if it was a mutual thing, but somehow Beyond wound up with only 2 people in it. And so also a similar kind of thing was going on in Inner Strength, where there was me and Alan that we were more like hardcore than metalheads. And
Right.
the other 3 guys were more metalheads than hardcore. So Tom came over and he said, "Hey, you guys look like you should be in our band." So that's what happened.
Things were so segregated back then too. It was like, are you a hardcore guy or are you a metal guy? You know,
Yeah, it was a big deal.
You can't be both, right?
Yeah.
Right. That's funny. So you play bass on this, correct?
Right.
Any recollections? Can you give us any perspective on sort of the recording of this in retrospect?
Yeah, I definitely can. It's a memory that sticks out in my mind. My parents had already moved to California. I was 18, I think. My parents had moved to California. I graduated high school and I was going to move to California. But in the summer before I moved to California, I recorded this.
Mm.
And we did it in the studio in LA that was in Long Island, LA. That was pretty nice. And the guy, the engineer that recorded it, we nicknamed him Red Man because he's like always drunk and he was like always red. And I just remember we walked into the studio and I'm like, wow, I'm in the big leagues. This has its own bathroom and it has like a stage. They had like this big ass stage, bigger than the clubs we played at. And we recorded in there. And it was my first time like putting on the headphones and like overdubbing a track or something.
Sure.
It was just a really interesting experience.
Yeah. And and interesting that was this just sort of a random recording studio, like this one's sort of in our general vicinity, let's go here and record that. Like I hear a lot of that in those days, you know, sort of like we ended up in this place, the guy had no idea what our music was. It was like one of those deals, right?
Yeah, because the world was less connected in those days. There was like less people knowing about things and less stuff. You just had access to your area and whatever, so you may do with what's in your area. But this place was actually pretty good.
Cool. Paulie Pork Chops Vids asks, who did that cover art?
I don't know, because it happened after I left. I think it was Tom Capone. It's just a picture. I think Tom Capone just threw it together. I think he did it, and maybe Dave Sign had something to do with it.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Very, yeah. So did you play a bunch of live shows at the time with Beyond?
It felt to me like we played a lot. Yeah, like I think we would play at least like 2 or 3 times a month, or I don't know, like a lot. For me. And then we every once in a while we would do like a 4 or 5 day, stint of shows in a row.
Get in the van or the station wagon and kind of
which was also like the first time of experiences for me of like getting in a van. Like we would get in a van with these bands that were like to me they were like similar to Slayer. Like we would get in a band with like Gorilla Biscuits or something, or like Youth of Today, and it would be like, wow, I can't believe this. I'm in the same band with these guys. And then we would crash, crash the band and not make it to the show on time. Right.
Well, all youth,
Yeah.
Youth. It's a shame it has to be, spent on the young, Yeah. Those were, we talk about that a lot. Let me see. We're not going to do questions just yet. So you mentioned moving out west and you left Beyond, and what was the impetus? Why were you moving out west?
Krishna was already an idea in my head.
I see.
Because it was actually because of Tom Capone. So Tom was very.
So I'm sorry I'm going to sort of segue a question. Ray Hogan asked, so when did Krishna first grab your attention?
Yeah, this is it, really.
Yeah.
It was actually because of Tom. It was because, but then again, kind of everything was because of Tom. But it was some matinee. Maybe it was like one of the DC bands came up to New York for matinee. And then we went, of course, to Bleecker Bob's like before the show opened or something. So, and then Bleecker Bob's had like this little spot there where they had fanzines.
Yeah.
And so we saw Tom saw one fanzine that was like this weird picture of a guy with a cow's head butchering a cow with a guy's head. And he was like, oh, I got to buy that one. So he got the zine and he read it. And then he's like, oh my God, this is the Krishna stuff. And then he's like, oh, you got to read this, Vic. This is really good. And I read it, and actually it was really good. Like it was like kind of mind blowing. Like I thought these guys are supposed to be totally nuts, right? But this is logical philosophy here. It appealed to me. So then I started to ask people around, like people that had neck beads on or something. I was like, "What are you into Krishna? Like, what is it? What is it all about?"
Mm-hmm.
So then it was that Gus Pena was the first guy who kind of like started speaking Krishna lingo to me. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden we played with Youth Today, and then it was Ray Cappo was like the guy who was really into Krishna, and then he had some books, and he gave me some books. So it was in Beyond originally that started to become something that was cool. But in those days, it was like, this is me. Like this is me, right? It's not like I want other people to do this. Like, in fact, I don't really want other people to do this because this makes me me. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't want you to wear the same shirt that I'm wearing either. Sure. So watch it. I want you to be into the same stuff. So, but I did want to get more and more and more into it. And it is like a cult kind of thing, and you changes your personality a lot. So it wasn't really able to happen in the same petri dish that I had grown up in, right, where I felt that if I could like transplant myself to a new bacterial setting, like a new fungus could grow into a different person. So I took the opportunity. My parents said, we're moving to California. You don't have to because you're 18. We'd love you to if you want to, but we're not going to pull you out of here because you're with this band and everything. But I said, no, I'll move there because my actual motivation was like, I can restart. I could become a new person. And that could
was there any sort of was there anything put in place, or it's a new start, California, it's a sunny place, the weather, was it just I want to go out and just have a fresh new start, or did you have did you have your hand in anything before you went out there?
No hands in nothing.
It was
just a school, right?
It was school.
Yeah, I never finished this school, but I like applied to this Cal Poly.
Oh, you too?
Yeah. And they accepted me. That was the only school I applied to, and they accepted me, and I went. So I did have something to do. Yeah, sure. I went to this school.
I want to just address, yes, Pat Baldwin asks, was that the same picture used on the cover of Antidote, Thou Shalt Not Kill?
I think so.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
So the name of that fanzine was Razor's Edge, by the way.
Okay, yeah. And yeah, of course, I sang an Antidote for 34 years. So
nice.
But I do not sing on this. This was the original Antidote, Thou Shalt Not Kill single. But my first exposure to Krishna was when I joined the band, because Arthur Googie, who played drums in the Misfits, started Antidote. Then he was going by the name Bliss, and went to the temple a couple of times with him and John Watson, a couple other people in 1983 or 4. Yeah. And so I that was my first exposure, and it was certainly an interesting time. So you go out to California. How do you move to LA? How do you get involved musically out there?
It was San Diego, actually.
Oh, San Diego, right?
Yeah. I'm just going to school, doing my thing, and then I get a phone call on the payphone at the dorm.
Nice.
From Chris Bratton.
It was one of those, Vic.
Yeah.
Look. Yeah. Tell Vic there's a phone call for him.
Exactly. Some guy knocked on my door. Yeah. You have a phone call.
You got a call, Vic.
Who the hell? Yeah. Right. So then I got there, and like Chris Bratton is such a funny character too, because he's like I remember the phone call distinctly because it was so weird. So I answered the phone and said hello. He goes, "Is this Vic DiCara?" Like I felt like, what? Did I do something wrong? Is this like Social Security something calling?
Detective who?
Yeah. I said, "Yeah, who's this?" He's like, "This is Chris Bratton from Chain of Strength. We'd be interested." Like it was so like formal and like intense. Like we'll be interested in rehearsing a blah blah blah. I was like, "All right, yeah, okay." So they wanted to see if I would fit in Chain of Strength, and I don't know. It was very unclear what they actually wanted to do with me, but they wanted me to come down to their practice space and play with them. And I showed up with my BC Rich Bitch, which is like a Batman shaped guitar.
Sure.
And I think dreadlocks or something. And they were very youth crew-ish kind of, right?
Yeah.
Chain of Strength, really youth crew. You kind of cut and dry.
They got shook.
So they were sort of like, I don't think you really fit. But Alex Barreto was like, yeah, he's really weird, but look, he plays guitar really good.
Alex, who was Alex in Hard Stance too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he was in Hard Stance with Zach. And so Zach had tried to do Inside Out before that.
I see.
And it didn't really get off the ground. But Alex was like, Zach, I met this guy, Vic. He's weird enough that it'll work. So let's do it. And let me play drums.
I see.
So then Zach was like, all right, let's give it a try. And then we met in Alex's bedroom. And it worked really well. Like from the first moment, like from the first click on the drumstick, it was like, bam.
Can I quote Alex here?
Yeah.
This is from Alex Barreto. The combination of Zach and Vic was very important and made the band what it was. He also cites DiCara as the catalyst for the band's more radical experiments in sound that were found on the EP. Quote, when Vic came in, things got more odd. He definitely played a big role in anything that sounded dissonant after that.
Yeah. Yeah, dissonance is my thing. I'm not into harmony so much as dissonance.
Yeah, dissonance is my thing. Yeah, discord is my thing. Now here's a shot. So Inside Out gets rolling. Was it? And this is, I think, is this CBGB's? I think
It's Gilman.
Oh, it's the Gilman. Nice. Oh, and wait, excuse me, is that the BC Rich you're playing?
That is.
Oh, there it is.
There's
Look
some
at
really
it.
good stickers on that guitar too.
You know, I've never think I've seen a BC Rich so defiled. Usually BC Riches are like, they're like immaculate, like, you know, pieces to idolize. Like I've never seen one so road weary, you know. That's great. Could you give us some perspective on, you know, what the Inside Out shows were like, the live shows back then?
It was really good. I would actually, wow, that's so interesting. That's Mark Hayworth in the background while oh man, I'm forgetting his name right now. While the original bass player is playing bass. What about Inside Out?
Yeah, what were the live shows? Was it clicking? I mean, I must say, it looks like it's happening in this shot right here, you know?
Yeah, I would have to also say that was the peak of my heart. That was the peak for me.
Huh.
Yeah. That was incredible. That was just the right mixture of like the right chemicals that just all of a sudden make a.
Let me see. I have another shot. And here's another Inside Out shot. There you go.
That's the cover, right? That's what Revelation used for the record.
Yeah. So this is Gilman, huh?
That one, I'm not sure. That looks like it might be a restaurant called Spanky's. I'm not sure.
Was Gilman an exciting place to play back then? Was it sort of I mean, I played it when I was in Antidote years later, but was it sort of like the CBGBs of San Francisco?
Yeah, but that's kind of, I don't know. Maybe I like New York. I prefer New York way more like than West Coast stuff.
Sure.
And like the scene, like, I don't know. I think there's something advantageous to being cramped into a small space like Manhattan is.
Sure.
California is like spread out, and it kind of reflects in people's attitudes and the scene too. So yeah, I guess Gilman was the CBGBs of California, but California is not comparable to New York. So yeah, it didn't have that intense feeling to it. Like CBG was incredibly intense. You feel like you're walking into like a torture chamber or something when you go into that small little room. And also Gilman didn't feel like it was ours. It felt like it was theirs, because it was like belonged to like Maximum Rock and Roll kind of people or something like that. I don't know the exact details.
It was like an ABC No Rio kind of thing. It was there was other forces that were sort of at work there.
Yeah.
You know? Christopher Katchmer says, "Love the Inside Out EP since I was a kid. Thanks, Vic."
Thank you, Christopher.
Could you give us any perspective on No Spiritual Surrender?
Yeah, that was also cool. Zach said Zach had the title, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he said, I want to write a song called No Spirit, because Zach, I think he took off his shirt in the practice. I was like, oh my God, you have a tattoo of Gandhi. That's really weird. I've never seen a tattoo of Gandhi before.
Wow.
And then on his other arm, he had a tattoo of Martin Luther King.
Right.
But Gandhi was pretty interesting to me. So he's like, yeah, I want to write a song called No Spiritual Surrender. Gandhi was so cool. You know, I'm really into Gandhi. I want to write a song called No Spiritual Surrender. So I was like, okay, I want to write that song too. And I went home and I put on Led Zeppelin, When the Levee Breaks. I guess it's Led Zeppelin 4.
Hell yeah.
So I just used that as the drum beat.
Yeah.
And I took out the guitar and I zoned out that the rest of the song and just heard the drum beat, and then made up a new song on the drum beat. And then I came back the next day to the rehearsal and I was like, play this, play that, play this, check out how this sounds. And these guys, they were like, oh my God, great. And that became our song. And I wrote I wrote the lyrics too. Sing this, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Okay.
That's how it was in the band. Like we would never, it wasn't really defined like person X had, you know, A had this domain and B had that domain. Everybody was involved in everything. Alex also was like changing guitar parts and things like that. You know, it wasn't like anything was fenced off. Everybody was kind of integrated in the creation process.
It was an open, creative sort of pool, as we say, right? Yeah. How did the hand play out with Inside Out? At what point did you move on, and what were the circumstances?
It was Krishna again at work. Krishna, not the super, you know, just the Krishna, Hare Krishna force,
right?
Because after meeting Ray with Beyonds, I developed a relationship with Ray, became friends, and then he kept trying to get me more and more into his thing. His thing was a bit different than my thing. Like my thing was I'm into Krishna, right? Just like I'm also into Slayer. Like, sure, it's a part of my thing. But his thing was more like, let's preach and let's make the world Krishna conscious. It would be better. The world would be better. Let's make devotees. So I was but he's a very charismatic person. I mean, I'm a slightly charismatic person, but he's a very charismatic person. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like one planet being pulled towards the sun or something.
Sure.
So I kind of got pulled into his orbit, and then all of a sudden he wanted me to play in Shelter, and what an honor, right? This is the guy from Youth of Today. It seemed like to my parents actually thought it was a good career move.
Really?
Yeah.
They backed
totally the opposite.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, listen.
So anyway,
your parents loved you and knew what creates joy for you and supported you in that.
Yeah, but they came to regret that. That's for sure. I mean, they came to regret, like, little did they know that by joining Shelter, I would be moving into a Hare Krishna temple. And
right.
Yeah.
Right. So you were in the sort of like the original one incarnation of Shelter, or very early on?
There were, you know, like most things, the original form of it is usually generally amorphous. Nobody really knows what.
That's right.
The first like tangible form of something was, I would say, yeah, that was me. I was in there.
Can we sidetrack a second, because I see people going on about Vic? Did you used to ride BMX?
Yeah, I saw somebody's name was BMX something or other, right?
Yeah, we have some real big BMX. Chris Contos, the drummer, formerly in Machine Head and in Forbidden, says, "Okay, I have to know, what kind of BMX did you ride, Vic?"
MKS. You remember the bike company MKS? I was sponsored by MKS. It was but it was a sponsorship.
Wow.
And then I rode with Joe Gratola and Jimmy Johnson. And Jimmy Johnson, I think, was Schwinn after a while, and Joe Gratola was GT.
Everybody's chiming in now. Enzo says, "I raced JMC." Chris Con, did you race?
I started off racing, and then when I found out about freestyle, I was like, that's more my thing, because I'm not like a muscle athletic guy. I'm more like an artsy kind of person. So like tricks were like more interesting to me than like just trying to drive fast.
Wow. Oh, yeah. So interesting. Was skateboarding a part of your kind of?
It was like cooler than BMXing at the time, or maybe it still is. I'm not sure, but it was like the cooler people were into skateboards, so we tried to get into skateboards.
Yeah.
I wasn't really very good at it, but I could skate a little bit, and that's how I wound up. Actually, that's how I wound up knowing about punk rock at all, and that's actually why those kids in school like Tom Capone were interested in who I was, because New York crossover thrash at that time was like idolizing skateboarders. A bit, no, right? It was like skateboarding.
Well, it was definitely in the periphery. It was definitely in the periphery. Thrasher magazine was talking about New York hardcore and things like that.
And then Anthrax was like Anthrax, the band was like like idolizing skate culture and stuff. So these guys were like, "Oh, he's a skater. Let's be his friend."
Right. Larry Kelly says, "Yes, you don't have to be a good skater to be a skater.
That's nice.
You just have to be in the tribe, and once you're in our tribe, then there's a commonality there, and that opens up a dialogue. So wow, who knew? See how things see.
My first zine was called Shred. I made a zine with my dad and my aunt called Shred, and other people, and it was a skate zine. It was mostly skating zine, skate free. Mostly it was a BMX freestyle thing.
Interesting. So what is that, Chris? Oh, he said, "I took the Grand National in 2014 I took the Grand National on a 2014 GT." Well, there you go.
I don't know what that means, but it sounds impressive.
I don't know what it means, but it sounds like you won something on a certain bike. So so that's cool. So you're in Shelter. You're doing the Shelter thing. You're preaching. You're out there preaching Hare Krishna. And how was that ride for a couple years there? And what were you?
Actually, that part of that was really fun, because I don't like to fight physically, but I love to fight with words.
Mm-hmm.
So that was what I got to do all day long. Just like fight with people with ideas. And that was a lot of fun. That part of it was a lot of fun. The musicality of it was totally not fun, especially coming off of the high of Inside Out and then going into Shelter. It was very not fun. And the personality clash between me and Ray Capital was also not fun at all. So it didn't really last very long.
Right. And Johnny Purcell wasn't in the band, right?
I think they brought him after I left.
Right. Yeah. So you leave Shelter, and pretty much around this time you form 108.
Well, this is such an inside.
I know. I'm missing. There's a big piece here, right?
No, it's just funny inside outs. I mean, it's funny inside story, inside jokes, kind of stuff. Like, so what actually happened was, I think I was just such a pain in the ass to Ray, right? Especially because Ray is very used to people cooperating with him.
Sure.
So I was just such a thorn in his side that I think he was complaining to the Hare Krishna gurus, like, "You got to get this guy out of my band." So I think this one Swami like called us up, and he said he had a dream that there were 2 Krishna bands.
Right.
So okay, then that means it has to happen because the Swami had a dream that there's 2 Krishna bands. So I was like, you know what? This is fucking hokey, but I don't want to be in this band anymore. And this is fine. It's cool. This is a good way out. So it wasn't like I left Shelter and then wound up finding starting 108. It was like immediate. Like, no. I even like wrote like 3 songs like on the first day of having 108 be a band.
You were inspired.
No, I was repressed. So it was like I was like so repressed of after being in Shelter where I couldn't express anything.
I see.
Musically, that I had all these riffs like in my head, like that I wanted to do something with. So it's just like, okay, now I have a park I can play in. Holy Name was like the first thing. I just picked up the guitar and then Holy Name. Then like 3 other songs just happened.
Is it informing putting 108 together? Is it true, or is it just a urban myth that Harley Flanagan you would think of playing drums?
That's true.
That's right.
However,
it's true.
I didn't really personally. I never have personally met Harley Flanagan. I'm sad about that. But I was in India. I had my intention was constantly to stop doing 108. Yeah, like I just wanted to stop doing 108 and live in India, right? But
you were deep in your spiritual journey, and 108 just wasn't part of the equation. I
didn't think so. Yeah.
Well, if I may ask, why? Too much connection to Maya? Like, what was the connection? Why was it just dealing with other people? Why was 108?
I mean, do you typically see like monks playing hardcore shows? Not really, right?
Especially not back then. Also, right?
Yeah. I mean, you're supposed to go sit under a tree and do a mantra. That's what I wanted to do.
Right.
Why did I fuck up my whole life for this? Because I wanted to do this thing that I'm supposed to be doing. So why am I half fucking up my life? Let's fuck it up all the way.
Sure.
Let's go live and die underneath this tree and get nirvana or whatever I'm supposed to get.
Half measures have availed us nothing.
Yeah, and I'm not a half kind of person at all. I'm like 108%
right.
of everything.
Sure. Yeah.
So Harley, I was in India trying to quit the band, and so Rob and Triv, they got in contact with Harley, and they were like, the singer wants to break up the band, but we really don't want to break up the band. Harley was like, what the fuck? You can't break up this fucking band. This shit is great. And tell that guy he's in Maya, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
and then they were like, he's like, all right, I'll play drums for you. And so he took our demo, and then he started playing along with the demo. And as far as Triv and Rob told me, he's incredible. Like, he's an incredible drummer.
He's a great drummer.
And he was playing all this stuff that I had written on drum machines.
Right.
But when I wrote on drum machines, it's impossible to humanly play. But he was playing it.
Wow.
And then he said, who the fuck is your drummer? And then they said, drum machine. He's like, oh, that's how you do it. That's how he did it.
That's funny. And then it just didn't come to pass?
No, because Harley is he's out of our league. Like, he's wild. Like, we're like normal suburban kids.
Right.
But Harley has a real serious backstory. So like, like, I mean, he's not really a fit with our personality. Like, we don't like carry around knives and stuff. And like,
right. Got it. Makes sense. So 108 Forms starts playing shows. Set the table for us. How were those early shows received?
That was exciting too. Those days were exciting. You got a lot of people turn out at shows. People were like really interested. Actually, anyway, people were like really interested in what bands had to say.
Yeah,
it was a very interesting time. The first shows were really interesting. I think also because I had a little artistic freedom again, so I was able to like try out my artistic ideas. They were cool. The problem was that it was very difficult to have a solid lineup because you know, like you were talking about metal versus hardcore and metalheads versus hardcore. Well, we took it to an extreme. Like now we're playing Krishna hardcore. Not only did you have to be a hardcore guy to be in our band, you had to be a Krishna.
Right.
There's not that many to choose from.
Yeah. There's not a huge pool of hardcore Krishna,
Yeah,
you know,
talent.
people.
So it was kind of difficult to put a lineup together. We had all kinds of lineups in the beginning, and then the fact that I don't really want to be doing it anymore anyway also doesn't help.
Right. Is that right? You were singing and playing on the early stuff?
Yeah, that's fun. There's funny stories, all kinds of cool stories. I got Rob to sing in the band because I really like Rob. The reason why I really liked him was because he got in an argument with Ray.
That's all it took, huh?
Yeah, because they accused him of being a thief. They had accused Rob of being a thief and stealing shit from the temple, and he didn't steal shit from the temple. The temple had fucking broken windows. Anybody could walk in and steal anything they wanted, you know.
Yeah.
But so he like had this pretty vivid argument with Ray, and I thought, this guy, I can relate with this guy. So I wanted him to sing in the band. He wanted to sing in the band, but then all of a sudden, his mother died.
Ooh.
A very intense experience, and he didn't really want to be a Krishna for a while, and he didn't want to be singing in the band. So I'm left with like, that was actually after the recording of the record.
Is that after the recording of Holy Name?
Yeah. Previous to that, what happened was we wanted a devotee to be the singer, and so this guy, what was his name? It's one person who sang for a band. Oh, his name is Jay. And he sang for a DC band called Fed Up. And so I thought, okay, this guy sang in the band before, he can sing in my band. So we went into the recording studio, and I just didn't like the way he was singing, like at all. I didn't like it at all. So also I have no sensitivity or tact. So I just like fired the guy like right there in the recording studio. And then I was like, fuck, now what? So I have no singer. So I just started singing. I recorded the shit, and then there was like a couple of stuff left over, and I knew about Rob, so I was like, come in and sing some stuff. So he sang like half of this record, and I sang the other half of the record.
I see.
And then we wanted Rob to be the singer, but he had that thing in his life where his mom died, and so our first shows, I would play guitar and sing at the same time, which is not easy. It's pretty difficult.
No, it's not. It's not that it depends on what you're doing. I mean, but it's hard to write as a guitar player and then sing and then go, oh, now I got to do this live.
Yeah.
Because, you know, unless I think some guitar player singers approach their style as knowing that they're going to have to do that, but it's difficult. It's difficult to do. How did Equal Vision sort of come into play with 108?
Actually, so the guy who did that fanzine that I read way back when the thing that got me into Krishna, Razor's Edge, he actually started Equal Vision Records. His name was Kalki. But in those days, to start a record label meant you just came up with a name. And you say it's a record label. So he started a record label called Equal Vision Records,
right?
But he never put out any record or anything. But then he gave it to Ray Capo. You guys, your shelter, so you guys can use it. So then Capo like wanted to do a split 7-inch with Shelter and Inside Out. And Zach was into it. But then as I got more and more ISKCON-y Krishna, not like the Vic Krishna, but like also like more to like the religious Krishna type thing, Zach started to get less and less on the same page as me. And then I think after meeting Ray and everything, he's just like, this is not my personality. I don't want to be a part of this. It's not that he didn't want to be a part of my like version of Krishna, but he didn't want to be a part of like the Hare Krishna version of Krishna. But to me, that was like heartbreaking. Like, what do you mean? This is like Krishna's emissary on earth is like Ray Capo, and like, this is my chance to like do devotional service for Krishna. What are you doing? You know? So I was kind of upset with Zach for not wanting to do this split 7-inch.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the crack. That was the crack that
That was
widening.
sort of the impetus that led you guys to sort of splitting.
Yeah.
And he went on, didn't he go on with the band after you guys split and sort of had other guys come in, and didn't he go on for a while after that?
Shortly. It didn't
Yeah.
From my perspective as a third party, it didn't
Yeah.
really work. So instead of trying to keep making a dead horse run, he just was like, fuck it, I'll take these ideas and start a new band with these ideas.
Right. And that new band turned out to be Rage Against
It was
the
Rage
Machine.
Against the Machine, which very quickly proved to be a really good idea.
Did were you in communication with him? Did he reach out to you regarding forming this new band, or were you just on two different paths?
I was not in communication with anybody. I was joined a cult. I did not talk to my
I was in a cult. What are you talking about? Yeah.
I didn't talk to my parents for like a year and a half.
Wow.
You know, like I didn't talk to, I was not in communication with anybody.
Wow. Do you regret that in retrospect?
Yeah. Especially for my parents. I mean, you know, like
Yeah.
they did not deserve that. They
Yeah.
were the best parents that a person could want.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Joseph, I got your super chat. Good question. We're going to ask it, a little bit later on. We're going to continue on our journey here. One beloved 108 record that comes up a lot. People friggin' love this record, man. Could you give us any perspective on this? On this is the second 108 record, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My perspective on this is it's also interesting how the isolation that I was, like we just mentioned, the fact that I wasn't right. I was like pretty isolated. It
Sure.
also affected the music. So it wasn't just isolation from like society, but in previous bands that I considered my actual bands, like Beyond and Inside Out, there was mutual relationships in the creative process. Like people would meld together and create something together.
Sure.
Whereas I think that was completely out of my mind at this point. Like I was just myself. I was just like completely isolated. So even this record, I literally wrote everything.
Wow.
Like I literally wrote the drum fills. Like, so like totally isolated. And actually maybe I don't really like it that much actually because of that. Because it doesn't really, it's like only salt with no sugar, or it's like only sugar with no salt or something like that.
It is 100% your vision.
Yeah, but it's like my vision in isolation or something. It's not mixed with anybody else's. So, but I do like, it is cool. I mean, it is what it is. I do like it, but it is kind of weird. Like I like Threefold Misery a lot better than this record.
That's what I'm getting at next. But it's interesting to see, knowing who I know in the chat room and who really loves this record. You got Heggs, who's like a real metal guy, and this is like I said, well, this is a beloved record. People really love this record. And you mentioned, where is it? Where's my Threefold Misery? You mentioned the next record. Wait, I got that somewhere. I gotta find it. Somebody asked me a question beforehand about Threefold Misery. Why did Threefold Misery LP sound so different from 108's earlier releases? What are your recollections from the recording session? That record, I listened to it this morning. That record slams, man.
Thanks.
That's a really great record. Sounds I love the sound of that record. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, that is also true. Like the Songs of Separation was recorded in New York and Tom Fury, but Threefold Misery was Brian McTernan. And so I think Brian McTernan just has a fresher idea of what sounds should sound like. But even much more important than that, it's Trevor Crom's presence in the band. Trevor Crom is on a different page. he's not a normal person.
Mm.
So like his sonic input is completely unusual. And plus, at this point, I was starting to sort of level out, and I wasn't
Right.
quite as gung-ho-ly fanatic with my Krishna conscious stuff.
Yeah.
So I was starting to level out. So I think also the effects of like I was starting to become more of an integrated person with other people.
Mm.
And so this record is 108 started to feel like an actual band with this record, where like Rob would actually have a say in what the music sounded like. And Trivikram had a huge effect, like subliminally.
Mhm.
Like he never actually wrote a part, but subliminally had a huge effect on what the band sounded like. And I think the difference that you hear between Threefold Misery and Songs of Separation is the difference between this is what music sounds like when one guy writes it
I see.
in the first record, and this is when one guy writes it with like input from other people is Threefold Misery.
Yeah, like I said, I listened to this morning, and it's really good.
Also, I think at this point, I was more in a I don't give a fuck stage.
Is that Brian asked? What's the theme behind Threefold Misery? Is that it?
The theme behind the title?
Yeah.
There's supposed to be three kinds of suffering. I mean, the world is just has three divisions to it. It has something called Adhyatmik, Adibodhik, and Adidaivik. So there's like things which happen to you because of yourself. There's things which happen to you because of other people. And there's things which happen to you because of stuff you don't know. You can't figure out why it happened.
Huh.
Right. So when they say threefold misery, the meaning is we suffer from mistakes that we made ourselves.
Okay.
From things that other people have done to us, and also sometimes like natural disasters or shit that you just can't figure out, why did this happen to me?
When bad things happen to good people.
Right? Yeah. So we just sort of liked it. Just sounded like a dark phrase or something. So we liked it. So we just said, let's name the record Threefold Misery.
Got it. So the hand, the 108 hand is playing out. There's what else do I have? I'm just looking at the first kind of go round. Oh, one thing I did enjoy, really enjoy that I heard was the you guys did Death Comes Ripping on the Misfits tribute.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Yeah, I actually legitimately liked the Misfits from my skating days, from my BMX skating days. That was
and you did a great version of it.
Thanks. But plus also the Misfits, I like melody too. I guess I do I like songs. I like the thing. I don't just like brute force. So yeah, I do like melody a little bit.
Yeah. Why did 108 sort of around 1997, 98? Why did you go on hiatus? What was the impetus for that?
Like I said, I always was trying to stop doing this stuff, but the gurus and stuff like that in ISKCON, they didn't really want me to stop doing this stuff,
right?
Because here comes people to the temple, and also legitimately I wanted to go sit underneath a tree and chant a mantra, but am I qualified to do that? Like I'm just a kid from I'm just a kid from Long Island. Like I didn't really so I'm probably more qualified to do a band. But
are you more qualified to do a band, therefore bringing people into the temple? Yeah.
But anyway, after
you were comfortable with that?
What's that?
And you were comfortable with that?
No, it wasn't sitting well. It was a big problem for me because the kind of Krishna consciousness, even though I joined a cult, I still was a punk. So I still had the idea that I was not in a cult, or I was going to change this cult or something. So the Krishna consciousness that I had in my head was still the kind of thing that a person like Zach De La Rocha would get behind.
Right.
Whereas when people listen to the way that I would express myself or make a record, they would wind up at an ISKCON temple which wasn't really what I had in my head about what was what. So I wasn't very comfortable with that. But I thought, okay, but I'll change that, right? I'll make these tempos better. And I did make efforts in that.
Sure.
In that regard, but it's not really a changeable situation.
It's a, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a massive superstructure, seems to me. Brian asked, and we're going to take a break in a second, a sponsor break, but let's do a question. Vic, in the New York hardcore documentary, you defined hardcore music as quote unquote no frills. Do you still see that as the definition now that it's become something more than just underground music?
I don't know. I see New York in general as like no frills.
Yeah, it's raw.
Yeah, it's raw. So, but I don't know. Identity, everything is fluid. Identity is always fluid. Everything is just a temporary expression of things. So, I don't think we have to say what New York hardcore is, but we have to say what it is now. And I don't know what it is now because I don't really participate in it now. But I know that when I was participating in it, it was no frills. Fuck yeah. Because kind of by necessity, I can't bring like a light show on the road or a big wardrobe with costumes.
I agree with you. It's all perspective, isn't it? It's all someone's perspective in that moment of what it is. It's not a tangent, it's this. But, I think that's sort of the world. That's the world we live in, right? People want to define things and put things in a box. But let me see. Okay, let's do this. These are good questions. Could you talk about the Curse of Instinct EP, please? Why those Bad Brains and Black Flag covers?
Curse of Instinct was recorded on the end of the recording session of Threefold Misery. We had extra time, so we recorded extra songs. So the Misfits thing was Misfits tribute. Somebody wanted us to do that, so we did that. And then while we were doing covers, I mean, I like playing covers.
They're fun.
And Rob hates it, but Triv and me, we love it because we love these songs. Why not play them?
Yeah.
But so we were just like, well, we did one cover. Let's do some more covers. All right, what one do you want to do? So I said, well, I want to do Bad Brains. Let's do Coptic Times. That's a really cool. And then Ross likes Black Flag. So like I don't even know a single Black Flag song, but he loves Black Flag. So he's like, let's do Black Flag.
Makes sense. Hey, let me take a sponsor break. It's a couple of minutes. If you wanna get up and get some air, it'll be like 5 to 7 minutes, and we'll come back and we will continue on our journey. Okay.
Okay, great.
I'll see you in a bit. There you have it. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. Our guest today is Vic DiCara. Let's do some sponsor stuff. Let's come back. We'll go deep. We'll get weird. We'll take all your questions. I saw a couple of them come in already, but we're gonna come back. We're gonna talk about a couple other things. We'll get to that. How about some sponsor stuff?
What it do? Welcome to NYHC Comics at 117 Main Street, Dobbs, Surrey, New York. I'm Debo the Pro with my homie
Lee Farley.
Welcome to the spot. Specializing in yesterday's and today's comic books, rare CGCs, toys, collectibles.
Got skateboards, old school tapes, Magic the Gathering, Warhammer.
Video games, original art pieces by your favorite New York City and worldwide artists. Let's go. Skate decks all day, baby.
We also have the young readers section here for like 10 and under. The Pops. People love the Pops.
Star Wars! We are New York hardcore. We always rep the scene. Let's get it on.
Will that be cash or in debt?
Do you mean debit?
Yes. Sorry. Another eternally satisfied customer.
Hey guys, Vlad from Organic Grill. As you can see, we're in a new location on West 3rd Street, right by Blue Note and Comedy Central. The place is bigger, kitchen is bigger, we have more varieties, more food. We are looking forward to treat you guys with great dishes. All Hardcore Chronicles, welcome to Organic Grill. We are going to serve all the events as we usually do, and we are happy to see you guys.
Since 1992, Generation Records has been a mainstay of the New York metropolitan area music scene. Today, they offer a diverse selection of new and used rock, jazz, indie, hip-hop, punk, hardcore, metal, blues, soundtrack, and reggae LPs, as well as t-shirts, posters, and other merchandise. They buy used record collections of music memorabilia and will pay you top dollar for them. House calls made for large collections in the tri-state area. Call or email generationrecords@gmail.com and follow them on Facebook and Instagram. And we're back. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. Drew Stone, do you ever sleep? Yeah, I do sleep, actually. I sleep from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. About 6 hours a night. Maybe, 6, 7. But I'm usually asleep around 10, and I get up at usually 5, 6 in the morning, and I go right to work. And that's how I get a lot of this stuff done. So I'm very regimented in that regard. That's why when the band plays, we only really do matinees, and I don't like to be out at night anymore. That's just the way my life is set up. Volt, yes, it's fantastic. Yeah, fascinating show. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Thank you. Want to mention a couple shows coming up. A week from today, Ryan Packer from Slapshot Stars and Stripes on the show. A couple days after that, CBGB 50th anniversary with Hilly Crystal's son, Dana Crystal. This should be very interesting. Drew Thomas from Bold Crippled Youth, Into Another Dead Heavens on Sunday, March 3rd. Come on now, Conservative Military Image. Adam Voss is coming on March 6th. Paris Mayhew from Cro-Mags will be on Sunday, March 17th. Mike Score, the 24th. Phil Puleo from Cop Shoe Cop and the Swans on March 31st. Bob Chipardi, Concrete Marketing on April 3rd. Cliff from the Freeze. This is going to be a good one. On Wednesday, April 10th. Boy, a lot of shows are booked. Sunday, April 14th, John Connolly of Nuclear Assault, co-hosted by Howie Abrams. I also want to mention, please support the show. I see some people are. Thank you. Thanks for the super chat. The Ian MacKay show helped. But hey, this is a self-funded excursion here. There's a Patreon page. Please join Patreon. Exclusive content. You're in the mix. Get the free book. Get all the stuff. It's right there. There's a $2 tier, a $5 tier. Jump in, man. Your support is needed. Your support is appreciated. I want to thank our new patron, Yo Around, who just joined on. You know what I want to mention? While we're at it. Incendiary Device. We're dropping a new music video on Friday on Hardcore Worldwide. Keep an eye out for it. The link will be going up. Incendiary Device, Negative Attitude. YouTube video. It's going up on YouTube. Premiering this Friday, of course, because we have the big show this Sunday. Sunday, all ages free matinee on the Bowery. We're talking about CBGB's. This is a block from CBGB's at Jesse Mallon's place, the Bowery Electric. It is non-residents, Incendiary Device. It's going to jump off tonight. The long wait. Members of SSD Control, Slapshot, and Wrecking Crew, Crazy Eddie, and Next Scars. So that's happening this Sunday. There will not be a show this Sunday because this is going on. So come on down. All right. That said, let's make sure everything's okay. Is that right? Your favorite? A lot of people love that tune. That's why we did the video. You know, new video was done. Same thing as the last one. My kid had a lot to do with it, Caleb. So it's got the same kind of vibe as the last one. So that said, let's bring on our guest, Mr. Vic DiCara. Hey, man.
Hey.
Are you up now for the day, or is there
I
a
don't
day?
know.
Is there a day in front of you now in Japan?
Yeah, probably.
Where are you in Japan?
The Western Island, the little tiny bit down at the bottom.
Huh. So it's a separate island than the mainland?
There's supposedly 4 different islands actually.
Wow. That's great. That's great. And I assume you speak fluent Japanese at this point.
No, I speak really poorly, which is kind of difficult. But I'm trying to learn now.
But your wife is Japanese?
Half.
Half Japanese. Okay.
She speaks kind of well. It's not easy. I don't know.
It's a really hard. Japanese is a very difficult language, man.
Yeah, it is.
I hear it. I don't. There's no recognize. I don't recognize anything. With some, it's very difficult. Whereas, like, I hear German. I grew up. My grandparents. My grandparents spoke Yiddish. So there's a lot of Yiddish words that German and Polish, and so I hear these languages and I understand. I somewhat understand them, but Japanese is like I don't understand anything.
Yeah. And you can't read anything either unless you learn a whole 900,000 letters.
God, tough one. So where were we? So hey, how did Kate come into 108, and what point did that happen?
Kate came into 108 at the same time that Steve Reddy came into Equal Vision. So they came in together.
It was a package deal.
It was a package deal. So
Yeah.
Steve was actually really old school with Krishna consciousness. I mean, and with hardcore too, I guess.
Yeah.
But so he was like the first time I met Ray, he was there. And then the second time he had actually ran away from the Youth of Today tour to join the temple. And then he kind of left the temples and then came back with Kate.
Mm.
And so I don't know why, but Ray decided to give Equal Vision Records to Steve, which was a great thing to do. And then Kate was around, and I heard that she played guitar. So one of the things that I really hated about the Hare Krishna temples is how misogynist everybody was.
Right.
And how women did nothing, basically. They had no roles. So I thought, what would be a cool statement is if the Hare Krishna band has a woman in a prominent position.
Right on.
So, hey, Kate, you want to play? And she's like,
great.
Yeah, okay. So we tried it.
And it worked out. Did you was there a process of sort of sorting out guitar parts with a second guitar player? Like,
no, not really. It wasn't too hard. I think a
Just
lot of times when we played live,
intuitive?
we played with 2 guitar players.
Mm.
I think with Kate, we did just things differently because she doesn't play with a masculine style, of course, and she doesn't play with a very metal style.
Mm-hmm.
So we did, and these to this day too, when we play shows, we figure out like how would this sound best with Kate playing the second guitar. We'll come up with creative ideas for that.
Sure. Yeah, because I just saw you play fairly recently. I really enjoyed it. I saw you play here in Brooklyn with Judge, right? Yeah, and that was great.
Thanks.
So what kind of was the impetus to pull it back together in, what was it, 2006?
It was just wild. I don't know. It's just weird. I never really know what makes the things in my life happen.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just, there was Josh Trustkill used to do these big shows, I think, like big fests or something. I think. And then he said, we want 108 to play. And then, do you guys want to do it? And for some reason, at that point, all of us were like, yeah, okay, I think we want to play too. But then that show, that was the year that it crashed. It didn't actually happen.
Right.
We didn't actually play that fest, but we had already been together, and we, I think, even had tickets or something to go to that city, wherever it was. So we just managed to like throw together 4 or 5 extra shows on the side. And then we're like, hey, this is cool. We like each other, and this is fun. We like this band. Let's do it.
And then you went and started. You did some recording. I have a question. Somebody sent me, interestingly enough, somebody sent me through my website a bunch of really intelligent questions regarding the show and your career, my friend.
Imagine that.
Yeah, I'm like, who is this guy? A New Beat from a Dead Heart. Can you talk about the albums you made on Death Wish Records? New Beat for a Dead Heart and 1861. What was it like recording with Kurt from Converge and then Alex Garcia Rivera? Diverse, heavy stuff.
It was interesting. It was cool. These guys knew what they were doing compared to in the old days, where everybody was just we were just learning what we were doing while we were doing it. Mm-hmm. It was cool. I think Kurt is probably technically better at like getting a great clean sound or something, but he also tries to like he also like gives a lot of input to the band, which doesn't, we kind of, 108 isn't really the kind of band that takes input well. And then with Alex, it's like the opposite that is true. Like I think and with Alex, we just decided to record it on a tape instead of digital. And I think that's why we picked Alex, because he had this big machine that had this badass tape. So and what I liked about Alex was, it was just like, what, you want me to press record? I'll press record. Like, what? Tell me when to press record. Like, he wasn't trying to say like play the part differently or like do this.
Right. Are you, in retrospect, are you happy with this recording?
Yeah, I think it's cool. That's one of the things that I regret about the first 2 108 records is, like, I wish it sounded a little bit fuller, or like wasn't quite so like pinchy and narrow band and stuff. So it kind of makes it hard to listen to those songs. But with the later records, they sound kind of the way I would want it to sound.
Yeah, that makes sense. There was, you were in Burn for a minute there as a second guitar player with Gavin, correct?
That was fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us about how that came to be. And I know it was pretty short-lived. You played on the Cleanse record, which was on Equal Vision. Could you tell us how that came to be, and any memories you have of that?
Yeah, give me a second or two to dig up these memories.
Unearth them.
Yeah, I think Gavin was, I don't know, how did that happen? I can't really remember how it happened, but I'll tell you the things that I do remember about. Gavin actually came out and lived with me for a while, lived with my wife and I and my kid. And yeah, but so and that was even after the Burn thing fell apart. So we were like trying to do anything, just be friends. And I think it was really because of that Alan Cage connection, maybe, that I got some connection with Burn. But I had always liked Burn because they're heavy and not dumb. You know, they were heavy but like complicated. So that was sort of like my thing, and I like that. And so when somebody contacted me and said, "You want to play guitar in Burn?" I said, "Yeah, of course. Burn's great." And Alan Cage, I get to play with Alan Cage again. That's going to be great. But that was a whole different thing for me. Like, that was a whole different experience. I had never hung out with bands that are drinking and like, live on. I think Gavin has a squat that he like, transformed a squat on like
Yeah.
Avenue A or something.
Yeah, it's I think it's farther down than that, but he's one of the original sort of homesteaders. They took over a squat and
Yeah.
then they like bought the building for $1 under the stipulation that if they fix it up, then and he has a beautiful place. It's on the first floor. He's got a garden in the back. And I think, I mean, he moved into that place when it was,
not a beautiful place.
Armageddon down there,
So that was interesting to like live in that setting. I went to Spade's place for a while. It was interesting to be there. It's experienced a different side of the world, bars, people going to bars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was a very different experience that I really liked. I really enjoyed it.
That's great. Paul Stone says, I always kind of saw Burn as the inside out of the East Coast musically. All right.
That's interesting.
That's a fair analogy,
My favorite Burn song is Bait, the Bait. So when they said you want to play it in Burn, I was kind of like, well, if we play the Bait, I'll play.
Right. Let's wow, look at this. Let's talk a little gear for a second. Just a little gear stuff. What are you playing? What is this? What is this you're playing here?
I don't know. See, gear, talking to me about gear would be like talking to me about champagne. Like, I don't really know that much. I don't really know that much. You give me something to play, I play it. I turn the knobs until it sounds the way I want it to sound. And if I can't make these knobs make it sound the way I want to sound, I cry.
So you're not a gear guy. You're not like, it's just, I need it. You're just going for functionality.
I think I don't have a kind of brain that works for practical things.
Huh.
Like my brain is so idealistic and like so into philosophy and ideas that it doesn't have the patience to think about amps or tax returns or something like that. Like, it doesn't.
Be careful.
To me, they feel the same. They feel like kind of like the same. Like setting up my amp feels like kind of filling out a form at a government place. Just play. I want to play it.
Right. Interesting. So you're not. You're just not. You have no passion for that. That's not like a hobby.
I do have because of Trivikrama. So Trivikrama is the exact opposite. He obsesses over different gear makers and different gear modifiers, these people with various names that know how to modify these different things to make them sound different. Like, he knows all that stuff. Right. And so he filled in that space for me, and he became like my babysitter for gear.
I see.
And he would like make sure that I had a good thing to play. So after a while, I did develop some taste for gear. Like, I typically like the way things work on certain Mesa Boogie models. Like the one that I played recently on the shows with Judge was amazing. I can't even remember the name of it because I don't care that much to remember those things. But this was just like a perfect amp. You could make it sound like anything you wanted to do. It was a white Mesa Boogie something or other.
Volt says, crazy to hear this, as the sound is always so good.
The trick is just get rid of the mid-range and then you're done. Just pull out the mid-range and it sounds good.
Who do we have? We had someone on the show who said, "Oh, that's bullshit. It's the fingers. It's all the hands and the fingers. All that other stuff is just noise. It's interesting. Yeah. So So you're not a gear guy. You're not like, do you own your own equipment or you just borrow? Well, you have your own guitars.
I can't believe people don't know that I'm not a gear guy, because I'm so not a gear guy that I thought it was like well known. I don't own anything. I have a guitar, actually. I have a Gibson Firebrand.
Okay.
It's some weird kind of model. It weighs like 975 pounds.
Is that what you played when I just saw you in 108?
No, because I can't be bothered to like take it on the plane.
On the plane. So this is the deal. If you want us to play, you got to make sure I have a guitar on the other end.
Yeah. Now Triv will take care of that.
Oh, see?
But if I brought this guitar on the plane would probably crash because it's so heavy.
Yeah. Listen, I know I'm in a band. Flying with friggin' instruments is a big pain in the butt, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you always got to go through the same stupid routine with, like, no, you can't bring that on here. We've done it a million times. Come on, please. don't torment me. Oh, he says Firebrand's early 80s. Okay.
Yeah.
No more BC Rich?
I can't. I don't even play them enough. Like if I cared, like I would maybe buy a guitar that I like. BC Rich. I like the way the neck feels.
Right.
It just feels easy to play. Like for some reason, some guitars feel easier to play than others.
Of course.
And BC Rich feels easy to play. I like that. If I was playing more guitar, I would probably get myself a BC Rich. But how often do I play? Not very.
When you went into the temple, did you sort of disperse all these material possessions?
I don't think I had any to disperse. Okay, like so when I started playing, these guys, the guys in this band called Bloody Uterus, they told me to to get a bass to play bass, right?
Right.
So
right.
I got a bass. My parents got me this Gene Simmons bass, and I was like, then I decided I need to buy my own stuff. So Dom Bacco, the guy who played drums in the Beyond demo.
Sure.
He worked in a bakery, so he said, "There's a spot here. You want to work in a bakery?" So I was putting like jelly inside jelly donuts, or like frying donuts in oil.
Listen. We've all had that job, right?
I liked it.
I was pretty.
I got to take home donuts at the end of the day.
You get a real sense of accomplishment from these jobs, right?
Yeah. And then, but I made enough money to buy a Carvin amplifier. Don't ask me why I bought a Carvin amplifier. Oh, actually, it would be interesting to know why, because Mike Yaniselli, the guitar player for Third Planet, that band that I saw in the high school battle of the bands, he had a Carvin. Right. So I thought, Carvin, I'll just get a Carvin. Those guys were great. But the amplifier was awful. It was terrible. So I bought a Carvin half stack, and I bought and my parents would always like volunteer to buy me something for like a birthday or something. So they were like, "It's your birthday. What do you want?" I was like, "How about a guitar?" So they took me to like this guitar store on Long Island, and I saw a white BC Rich hanging up, and I was like, "That's fucking cool looking. I want that one." So I got that one, and I didn't even play it like a test it or anything. I just said, "That looks cool. I'll take that one."
I love this. Pat Baldwin says Bloody Uterus and Toxic Phlegm need to do a split 7-inch.
Yeah, I know. Especially maybe we could have a guest band on called like Corona or something.
Yeah. And we'll, and Jordan from Revel put it out.
Yeah.
So there you go. I'm gonna take a real quick sponsor break, and then let's take some questions from around the world. Okay, just give me this will be like real quick. This one, all right? See you in a minute. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. Here we go. Any questions you have, go deep, get weird, repost. Our guest today is Vic DiCara. Post them up, even if you posted them earlier in the show. I don't have the mental capacity to scroll back and find them. Repost, because this is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live, and we are sponsored by New York Hardcore Comics, The Organic Grill, DTFM Vinyl Distro, Generation Records, 126 Hardcore Clothing, Mad Vintage, and the Texas Silver Rush. They're a jewelry design firm and boutique store located in the birthplace of the Texas country music scene in Fredericksburg, Texas. They specialize in working with musicians in all music genres to design and create unique one-off pieces, as well as to style them for stage, album covers, promo photos, and social media exposure. Their client list includes Rock and Roll Hall of Famers Greg Rolle, Ringo Starr, and of course, Agnostic Front. Information on online sales will be taken at their Facebook and Instagram pages, and of course, www.texassilverrush.com. Last but not least, our latest, newest, and most exciting sponsor, Mad Vintage. He didn't make it on today, but he will be making it on soon. We're going to talk to this young entrepreneur about what he is doing with these incredible vintage t-shirts. Mad Vintage buys, sells, and collects band shirts, primarily hardcore. The DIY operation was started and is operated by a hardcore kid who just loves collecting and eventually got into vintage clothing, specifically the realm of vintage band shirts. They are always looking to buy out collections to either keep, sell, or trade. New shirts added daily at www.madvintage.com and posted on Instagram. Dig deep into that closet of crap and reach out to them. Make some dough for yourself. Help me help you, Mad Vintage. That said, want to mention a couple of let me do a couple of events that are coming up. We talked about this Sunday, free all ages matinee on the Bowery. Non-residents, Incendiary Dice, The Long Wait, Crazy Eddie. I'm going to be up in Albany with Biohazard on March 2nd. So come on up to that. We're heading out to the West Coast. We're doing a couple shows with Channel 3. We're doing San Diego on March 9th and San Pedro on the 10th. So come on out. Post your questions. Let's bring our guest, Vic DiCara, back on. Hey, wasn't long at all.
I barely had time to fall asleep.
Yeah, right.
I like your sponsors, actually. That first sponsor break was kind of fun.
Yeah.
Those are cool.
Thank you.
Well,
I'm blessed. I'm blessed. I have people that support the show, love the show, and I have a nice life, and I'm grateful for it. Ever play in Mexico?
Tijuana?
Tijuana.
No, I don't. I think I just went to see a show in Tijuana. No, I don't think I ever did.
I remember that one crazy place in Tijuana. It was like levels of it. I forgot what that.
Yeah, and kids would like die.
Yeah,
by jumping off those things.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about? The place I'm talking about. It was like a.
Yeah.
What was it? Anybody? What was that name? What was the name of that place in Tijuana? It was like multi levels. It was a crazy, crazy place. Someone will know it. Let's see. Let's see. What do we got? Yeah, we did this already. We did this, Danny. Being in Japan, as long as you have you learned to speak fluent Japanese? We addressed this already.
You can
what? Go ahead.
Watashi no Nihongo is terrible.
You could live in Japan for 50 years and not even be able to say hello to somebody.
Yeah.
You know?
But I am determined to learn it.
Are you learning it? Are you taking like is there like a class, or are you just
the problem
are you watching TV?
The problem is, the problem is I don't watch enough TV.
Right.
Or I don't interact with people enough. B,
right.
I'm learning Sanskrit or working with Sanskrit at the same time. So like, how can you learn two weird languages at one time? It's difficult. And I guess that's it. Just A and B.
Fair enough. Joseph Gingrich, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. I met you, Vic, when we were young, on several occasions when we were young, and heard you preach. Looking back from the vantage of maturity, how do you reflect upon your former zeal and critiques of other faiths?
I'm kind of proud of my former zeal, except I'm kind of embarrassed that it wound me up in that situation. But I think it's good to be zealous, or I think there's no other way for me to live. That's the kind of person that I am. Critiques of other faiths, I don't really recall critiquing other faiths. I would critique every faith. I think if I had a problem, it would be in not critiquing my own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what it is. It's iguanas in Tijuana.
That's right.
Oh man, that place is like that movie Dusk Till Dawn. That's seriously, they looked at that place and said, let's write a script called From Dusk Till Dawn. Can we get a little heavy? Okay. Brian, hey Vic, what Krishna practices do you still? What Krishna practices do you still do in your current life?
I especially am translating the Bhagavatam. So I work on the Bhagavatam. So that means I'm reading and figuring out the Krishna texts, the actual texts. I always wanted to do that.
Are you translating it?
Yeah. I've published 4 volumes of it already. It's a 12-volume thing.
Okay. And you're translating it to English?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because it's amazing. It's an amazing thing, and it doesn't really have a good English translation that's very readable.
What happens in a situation like that when you're translating something and you come across a word that sort of like doesn't translate, or there's no, or do you just sort of form your own sort of interpretation of it? Like what happens when you get to that sort of a fork in the road?
I feel that words will always translate, but the words are a really wonderful thing, kind of like music. Like the words have depth to them, so they have meaning at different depths. And when you find a word that doesn't translate, it's just because you're dealing with that word on a level, on a shallower level. So if you take a word, I mean, because words express the way the human mind works. So a word in one language will always be translatable to another word in another language, but you have to kind of dig down to what was the human mind saying when it was using this word in language A, and what would a person say to do that in language B, you know? But the problem is sometimes that people's minds don't work the same. The human mind sometimes doesn't work the same, or this person, like a type, like a very spiritual type of person's mind might not work the same as a person that's somebody else. So how do you translate some concept? It's really a translation of concepts more than words. How do you translate a concept into something that somebody else would understand?
Yeah, that makes sense. And when do you think that this would you complete this? This seems like a life's work.
I already published 4. Like I have a site, DiCara.com, easy to remember. And there's a books page on that site and it'll take you to I've published 4 of those volumes already. When will it be complete? Hopefully before I'm dead.
Yeah, it's like a life.
Maybe not, because it's huge.
Yeah. When this is a bit of this is coming from me, personal one. Can we talk a little bit about astrology? Like how did astrology come into your life? Were you a young person and like fill us in on sort of your passion, because your astrology site is really intricate and it's great and you have a great fan base and people love what you're doing. So can you give us some perspective on it?
After you're a punk rocker, and then it's kind of hard to figure out what your career is. So imagine being a punk and a hardcore, and then also living it for 8 years inside a Hare Krishna temple. After that experience, what is your career?
Yeah.
Hi, Heidi.
A friend? A friend?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's also an astrologer.
Okay. Hi, Heidi.
How do you figure out what your career is? Like,
yeah,
right. What do? You just lived in a van and like played 3-chord songs and screamed your ass off. Like, how does that translate into a career? Well, there's definitely ways to figure that out. But the way that for me, I couldn't figure it out for several years. How would my background translate into something that's like a career? But it was my wife who figured it out. She just out of the blue said, you would be a good astrologer.
Oh.
And it just made sense because the background that's
what women,
I was studying for so many
women,
years.
Sometimes they just cut right through. Sometimes they just have amazing.
Yeah, but it's like an intuitive something or other.
Loved ones, excuse me, not necessarily, it was loved ones. Sometimes they have the incredible ability to just cut right to it, don't they? You know?
So I thought it also just like made a lot of sense to me. Like, yeah, that's right. Like when you feel like, yeah, that's right. You hit the nail on the head. I could do this. And then I just like picked up a book about it and I was like, wait, I think I understand this. It's kind of the thing. Like, I think I already know this, like the same feeling that I had when I picked up a guitar or a piano. Like, I think I already know how to do this. It's in my past life memory somewhere. I can just like shake off the dust and figure this out. So that's what it was like for astrology for me. So I got up and running pretty fast.
Do you feel that I know people espouse about sort of the evils of the internet and social media. Me, in my case, like you said, it's enabled me to do this and have this career. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword. Do you feel the same way? Maybe I see what you're doing on there, and you have a great platform. Your thoughts on sort of this social media, internet, double-edged sword thing?
It is such a double-edged sword because, and think about what we wanted in our youth and why we were motivated to do hardcore was kind of like we wanted a voice.
That's right.
So that's a wonderful thing about social media and internet is it gives people a voice. The problem is that people's voices suck.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people don't know jack, but they love to talk. So it's weird that the thing that we really kind of worked for was giving people more voice actually wound up creating a cacophony. So you just have like all these so-called experts just talking like as if they know stuff, and people on the other end don't know how to differentiate between this guy.
And everyone panders to their own fan base. It's like everybody has like this little fan base that they're pandering towards, and it's whether it's 10 or 10,000 or 10 million people, and everybody's up there pontificating to their perceived audience. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of have some fantasy version of the ancient past or something. Like I always wish, like I just feel like that's what I liked about the Cro-Mags, really, with Age of Coral. I feel like the Cro-Mags identified this thing that, like, the modern direction, which is a basic Christian idea too, like the modern direction of civilization is not improving the way that we live. And I feel like things that are in the ancient days, sure, there's a lot of things that were difficult, but it was just actually much nicer. The quality of life was actually nicer in old settings. So, for example, like, there would be one person who specialized in knowledge, and they would really specialize in sciences and arts and knowledges. And there was one person that got to speak about this kind of stuff, but you would actually get quality information from this person. Versus today, everybody gets to say whatever they think. And what do you get? You get a bunch of unknown stuff. That's a cool view.
Yes, view number 2 that I don't use very much. I don't use that one very much.
It's cool.
Yeah. Let's see. Is your astrological system, which you've developed over the years, is it fair to say that it's unique? It's a unique bridge between sort of the Western model and the Vedic model? Isn't it a sort of a hybrid a little bit?
Not really. It's the interesting thing that I discovered, and you can realize this. It's pertinent to astrology, but it's pertinent to everything, really.
Please.
Somebody might say, "Wow, this guy built a bridge between Western and Vedic," but there's no bridge that needed to be built.
I see.
Because people don't realize that this globalization is actually an ancient thing. Humans are just humans, and we've always been talking to each other for a really long time. It just took a lot longer in the old days. And there is no such thing as Vedic astrology, and it's different from Western astrology. It's just astrology. And it's the same thing with cultures, music, people, everything. And language. Language is all just different pronunciations of the same basic things. And that's why Japanese is so hard to learn, because it was blocked by mountain ranges. And it's it's Chinese origin and stuff like that. So it's just like a different kind of seed than the one that made our stuff that we grew up with, our languages. So what I did with my astrology is really, I just went back to the original form of it, in which there is no real dichotomy between Western and Vedic things.
Makes sense. Yeah. Makes sense. Well, I think Pat asks, how often does he meet people who were introduced to Krishna consciousness through his music? Let me rephrase that a little bit. In your travels, and I know you're sort of in a quiet spot over there. In your travels, have you randomly bumped into people that have said, "Hey, man, your music, has introduced me to Krishna consciousness. Thank you." I mean, has there been those moments?
Not like I'm running into them in the mall or something, but
yeah.
No, I mean, but like you say, I am in Japan. But I did run into a guy wearing a Cro-Mags shirt in the mall the other day, and I was like, "Hey, I like that shirt." And he's like, "Thank you."
Wow.
It's pretty weird to find that here in Japan. But I think my most exciting memory in that regard was I had gone to India in 2012, and I was at this place called Radha Kund, which is really like esoterically important place. So it's like the most esoteric place, and the people that are there are all like these really hardcore practitioners. And I'm sitting there on the edge of this lake, and then all of a sudden some guy comes over and he says, "I know you. You're the 108 guy. I got into this because of you."
Aw.
or from Runaway. That was like mind blowing. Like what? Even over here.
Yeah. These
I felt
moments,
good.
man. These
Yeah.
moments. Astoria Lou asks, can you talk about his book Train Wrecks and Transcendence, A Collision of Hardcore and Hare Krishna came about? How did the book come about?
Again, that's my dad's influence. My dad played a pretty significant role. Does play a pretty significant role in my life. So this again is just like he wants to do side projects and wants to do stuff with me. So he had this idea like people should be able to write their memoirs because he's 23 years older than me, so it's pretty advanced in age. So he's like thinking about memoirs and leaving behind memories and things like that. So we wanted, and he's a computer programmer, so he wanted to like develop some kind of code for helping people write memoirs. So he wanted to have me involved in that. So it kind of evolved into the idea of like, why don't I write a memoir?
Uh-huh.
And in doing that, I'll understand what it takes to write a memoir, and I'll be able to help you do this development of this product. So that's when I did that. That's how that came about.
Yeah, I'm looking to do something like that with my dad, actually, who's going to be 91. It's just the hard part is how to get him. He can't write it out. I have to, how we're sort of stuck in the sort of the technological aspect of it. Like he's not that computer savvy. Although all these Macs these days have like a dictation function, very simple. So I'm trying to figure out how to do it. But yeah, we're looking at doing something like that together. Me and my dad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good one. Yeah. What were some of the early New York hardcore bands that you liked? You mentioned a couple, but maybe.
I'm glad I got this question because it's nice to talk about, people that you like. I really, really, really like the Crumbsuckers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
I really like the Crumbsuckers. And then I don't know if Bad Brains is like transcendental to New York or wherever they are.
Yeah, that counts.
Yeah, Bad Brains, Chrome X, The Age of Quarrel was really on. Agnostic Front, Victim in Pain. But I could probably do away with everything else except the Crumbsuckers and still have become, still have developed the same way. Nah, I don't know. The Crumbsuckers are really, really, really good. I really, really like them.
Interesting. Well, I just pulled a Crumbsucker album cover, actually. Here you go.
Life of Dreams. Got to be
Life of Dreams.
Yeah.
Life of Dreams.
That's the album cover.
Yeah. This is a very very influential band, but record. A lot of people who've been on the show cite this record as being really I guess in a lot of ways it's sort of like the "You Got Chocolate and My Peanut Butter," one of those moments, where right? Yeah. There's some great stuff in there. And Chuck Lenahan plays with Paris Mayhew now from Cro-Mags. I saw them play together recently in their Agros project. But yeah, I got to get Chuck on because Chuck also plays in one of my girlfriend's favorite bands. He's in Christian Death. So I got to get Chuck on the show. Yes, Paul Stone. Life of Dreams is next. Yeah, Life of Dreams.
Production is really good.
Yeah,
that made a big difference too.
Tim Cohn asks, talk about your new band.
Not
Tim Weirdos.
Is? Do you know who this guy is?
No.
This is Trevor Kromdas, the bass player of 108.
Hey, okay. So he's just.
So we do have a new band in the works. It's called Not
Is that
Weirdos.
right? Yeah, good. Thank you for getting to my next question. What does the future hold?
We're gonna do kind of dance remixes of all the songs on Victim in Pain. I actually got my mom to sing. We started with the first song.
Fantastic.
What is that song? That's "Can't You Act and Be Yourself?" Not another character in a hardcore handbook. Just real people being themselves, not weirdos.
Oh, fascist attitude? No. Oh,
Tim will tell you what the
okay.
What the
yes,
name.
we did, and yes, Jan. No, we need the Sean Taggart artwork for it.
Yeah, that should have that.
Yeah,
but yeah, we're gonna do that. That's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, there you go. Let me see.
My mom is the lead vocalist.
There you go. Life of Dreams.
My mom was surprisingly good as a hardcore vocalist.
Huh. Lori Dawn, I never realized how far-reaching Krishnacore was until I came across a band Sober from Russia. Sober from Russia. Have you ever heard of this band?
Nope.
All right. Well, they're out there. You know. Oh, this is always a good one. Who do you think in the scene back then? It really like any unsung heroes? Anybody that that you thought was really fantastic, that was really going to take off, but sort of for whatever the reason, sort of didn't really, you know, receive the accolades?
Not. It's not on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah. Okay. No problem. Let's see.
I'll keep it in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
If I get an answer, I'll answer.
Let me see what else. Any other questions? Post them. Let's go. Dennis Deep Cuts. I'm not sure who this is. Dennis Deep was the tour that we did together. Your first European tour. I'm not sure who Dennis Deep Cuts is.
Dennis, who's we?
Was the tour that we did together.
Anyway, our first European tour.
Hiding Inside was the Agnostic Front song, he said.
Oh, that's it. That's it. That's a great song. Those lyrics are really good.
Yeah.
I really like those lyrics.
We love Roger.
I don't know. Europe was just weird. It was like fun to go to Europe. It was like a different world. First 108.
Who do you go over there for the first time? Who did you go over there for the first time with? Shelter?
I don't know. Like I said, just like I don't know about gear. Like I don't pay attention to details.
I don't retain dates.
Yeah.
But I could but I could read it I'm great with a chart, but I can't read it dates.
Because it's all about abstract things.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Right.
But we did get our singer arrested in Europe.
Oh, nice.
That was good for inciting a riot. And this is the funny thing is he got arrested in Sweden, and he said it was the most comfortable night that he had spent on the entire tour was in Sweden.
That's great. At least I got a night's sleep.
Yeah.
At least I got a place to lay down, right? Our good friend and supporter, John in London says, how much backlash did 108 get touring as a quote unquote Krishna band?
It was a lot of backlash. But what else do you expect? I mean, if it was no backlash, it would be like nobody would be paying attention.
Right.
The backlash was kind of important.
We're all about to
find ourselves by the backlash.
Yeah.
You get a lot of backlash. And at first, it was actually Shelter received the most of the backlash when No Compromise 7-inch came out, and then it was a Quicksand Shelter Inside Out tour. That was really where it was like people weren't really sure if Krishnacore was gonna actually happen, or if it was something that they could actually get rid of before it happened. So they were still trying to like have protests or raise philosophical debates at the shows and stuff like that. After that tour, it was just kind of people just accepted that this was a thing now, and they had to either deal with it. So just don't go to the show if you don't hate this band, or try to heckle the band or something, which doesn't work well. It's hard to heckle a band. So they have the upper hand over you. And then it's just kind of like people gave up after a while. The guys that hated it just kind of forgot about it. It wasn't that important.
They wandered off to the next. They wandered off towards the next, the next negative, bullshit scenario, right? Is who when you were kind of doing who did you consider, like, other bands that you consider peers when you were sort of doing the 108 thing in the first go round? Were there anyone that you kind of felt kindred spirits?
No, that's the thing. Like when you're Hare Krishna, you're really isolated. So who's a kindred spirit?
Right.
It's not really much except for these other Hare Krishnas.
Yeah.
I mean, but then again, we weren't assholes. We were nice people. So we weren't assholes. So like we would make friends with the bands that we would travel with.
Yeah.
But there was always a feeling like that's them and this is us, and we're friendly with each other. Not like we're like it's different. It's difficult. Hardcore, I think you get a feeling like we're in the same cult. When you're in hardcore, you're in a cult with other hardcore people. But when you're a Krishna, you get in a different cult.
Yeah.
And you're not kind of like in the same place with everybody else.
And if you belong to both cults, if you're a hardcore Krishna person, then you're really consolidating the fan base.
That's why I think I hold some kind of a trophy. I deserve some kind of award. I'm weirder than the weirdos.
Yeah. A misfit among misfits. Right?
Yeah.
Listen, I guess, just it's I have to ask, because it's been put out there. What about the Inside Out reunion? Is there going to be an Inside Out reunion? Do you have any perspective on that? There was a little bit of a tease towards it. Dare I ask?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not supposed to say anything about it.
Fair enough.
But that probably says something about it. But I don't really know what's going to happen. It doesn't even mean that I'm going to be involved in it, because I'm not the most essential member in the band.
Well, in my opinion, it seems like you were a key member of the band, and that's where the magic was. So if they want to sort of, if they want that sort of magic that made the band what it was, chances are, in my opinion, they should speak to you. But that's just me. What do I know? I'm just the Johnny Carson of hardcore,
I hope so. But also, you never. Who knows if it's even going to happen?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. Do you feel like in retrospect, do you feel with Inside Out, do you feel like there's some unfinished business out there?
Well, is that in like a good sense or a bad sense?
Yes, in a good sense. Absolutely in a good sense.
Yeah. Yeah, of course, because it was really just cut short. It was really just poof. And we were already preparing like an LP.
Wow.
And those songs are like better than you might not agree, people like different things, but I think I like the songs that we didn't record way better than the ones that we did record.
Yeah.
So we have all this stuff lying around, unfinished, unknown, interesting ideas that were like moving into the direction that Zach went into. Good stuff.
Yeah. Is that right? The LP was supposed to be called Rage Against the Machine?
Yeah, that's right.
Wow. Well, there you go, huh?
Which isn't even Zach's thing. He got that from that fanzine. There was a California fanzine. I can't remember everybody's name now. No Rules or something?
Uh-huh.
And Kent McClard had done a fanzine, and he came up with this phrase, Rage Against the Machine.
And then when Inside Out sort of ran aground, he sort of took that and ran with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, Ryan. Everybody, people would like to see that. Ryan from Ake, how you doing, buddy? Once again, I want to say that if anybody wants to reach out to Vic, and I absolutely recommend tracking down Vic's page on YouTube. It is extensive. It is really, really well put together. Now I know you're not. If somebody wanted to reach out, I have the IG, the Instagram at Vic DiCara. But basically, it's probably easiest to get you on the website www.vicdicara.com.
Yeah, because I don't even know the password for Instagram. I haven't logged in like 18 years, I think.
I'm glad I've been tagging you on all this shit. That's great. But yeah, I seriously go check out Vic's YouTube page. It is really extensive, intelligent, and very interesting. So go do that, and
so
expect a couple of people off the show.
I could use some more hardcore people, really, because nobody really understands where I'm coming from. People get really upset with me for being rude.
Right.
I'm like, bro, I'm being nice. You guys have no idea what I'm holding back.
I'm giving it to you straight. I'm giving it to you solid.
Yeah.
People, Well, hey, look, thank you so much. It was a great show. We had a couple laughs. That's the real currency, I think, in this whole thing. Anybody you want to thank? Anybody you want to shout out?
Everybody, really. My parents, my friends, Triv, Ross, you.
Hey, you know what I didn't ask? Is there any 108 in the future coming up at all? Is there going to be any 108 stuff?
Oh, that's a big question. Yeah, that's a big question.
Okay.
It's also I kind of feel 53 years old in a
Right.
sense. Like
Yeah.
I don't really feel like stuffing myself into a car or a plane or everything and
Yeah, it
getting
hurts.
sick and everything.
It hurts now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. I gotta fly out to the West Coast with these jamokes in a couple weeks, and we're playing, San Diego and San Pedro, and it's just brutal. It's like fly out there, meet at Newark Airport at 6 a.m. Fly out there, get in the car, drive to San Diego, play the show, sleep, go to the matinee. It's like, oh man.
Yeah, that was fun when I was 20.
And you know what you got to put on the itinerary? Get sick, because
get sick.
always get sick every time.
Yeah, don't like that.
I don't either. It's
I
just
don't
a
need
given. Put on the itinerary. Have 50 people breathe in your face. That's. You see, we have a blessed existence. You and I. We sit. We do our computer stuff. I'm so grateful for what I have. It's like I have a worldwide audience. I speak to people around the world, and it's incredible. It brings me such joy, and I don't have to go into clubs anymore and have people breathe in my friggin' face. And
Yeah, you just expressed my mind. You just expressed exactly how I feel.
Thank you so much, Vic. Let's
Thank
keep
you.
in touch. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Take care. Bye-bye. Well, there you have it. Vic DiCara, great show. What a fantastic show. What a kind soul. It was really great. Thanks for hanging with me, everybody. It was great. He was a gem, man. What a nice guy, man. It was really great. Just as a reminder, there's no show on Sunday because we are down at the Barry Electric this Sunday, February 18th. Come on down. It's free. It's all ages. It's a Sunday matinee right next to the old great Gildersleeves. Bring that nagging wife. Bring that bitchin' husband. Bring that booger-eating kid. You're all welcome. We'll be back here a week from today with Ryan Packer from Slapshot, Stars and Stripes, American War Machine, and he is a promoter up in Boston. And don't forget also that this Friday is the Incendiary Device Negative Attitude video release. The link will be going up soon. It's the premiere. Very cool video that we just did. So that said, is everybody okay? Everyone's on the guest list. That's right. Everyone's on the guest list on Sunday. Come on down. Me and Larry Kelly want to see you. We want to hang out with you. Yeah, Boston's in the house. That's right. Yeah, the gear. I love hey, let's talk about gear. I don't give a shit about gear. Hey, you got to try, right? Thank you, Jeff. Great show, Drew. Vic is the real deal. He sure is. And check out that astrology page. Listen, when I was doing my homework for this show, I'm looking at his astrology page. I'm like, holy shit! Like, woof, boy. This is. Hey, Matt Gray, you missed the party, bro. The show's been going on for 2.5 hours. But that said, yeah, that was the first guest. First guest coming from Japan. Absolutely. That was the first guest. That said, how about that Ian MacKay show? The Ian MacKay show is now the third most viewed show we've ever done, behind Evan Seinfeld, Biohazard, Ian MacKay. So, hey, yes, Pat Baldwin, and thank you for being so involved with it. I appreciate it. You really helped it along, and I certainly appreciate that. Brian, you too, man. Thanks for everybody who was hands-on with this interview with Vic. I needed a little, I needed help with this one, and Thank God I got it from you. So, I appreciate it. That said, I think we're good. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody out there. I hope this day brings you some joy and some happiness. It is Valentine's Day. And I got Rochelle coming over, and we're gonna have a nice dinner together. And I hope you are going to have a nice dinner or whatever you are with V-Day. Yeah, it's Valentine's Day. That's what it is. Valentine. Paul Stone, my man. How are you, buddy? When are we going to see you back in New York? We miss you. Yeah, Valentine's Day and Ash. Is it Ash Wednesday today? Does that happen? It's Ash Wednesday and Valentine's Day? Yep. Thank you, Jan. My pleasure. Yeah, the Paris episode. I have to announce that. That hasn't been announced. I got to announce that probably tomorrow. Paris Mayhew's coming on. We're going to talk about the video. We tried to get Chuck from Crumbsuckers to come on, but he's driving that day. We're going to try to have him call in. So Sunday, March 14th is Paris Mayhew again. And when Paris is on, it's always great. Me and him have such a rich history with all the music videos and everything. So there'll be a lot to talk about there. What's St. Patty's? Hi, Johanna. What's on St. Patty's? Today's not. What's on St. Patty's? St. Patty's. St. Patty's ain't what it used to be either, man. I grew up in New York City. St. Patty's used to be just the great excuse to cut out of school, go down to the St. Patty's Day parade, get hammered, and get into fistfights. March 17th. Oh, is that right? Oh, that's right. Paris show is on St. Patty's. Okay. I get it. Yeah. Quick question. What about Flipper in the future? Flipper the band? What about Flipper being on the show? Or what about Flipper playing the Bowery Electric? Be more specific. Don't speak in such vague terms, my friend. Drink beer at McDonald's. We used to cut out of public high school, take the train down, get hammered, and just go look for other teenage kids to scrap with. Yeah. Who's going to be up in Albany for Biohazard, huh? Anybody? Johanna? Anybody from the anybody going to be up there? It looks like I'll be up there. Yeah, Flipper the Dolphin was already on the show, right? Yep. Looking forward to Biohazard. We love me, Larry Kelly will be there. Johanna will be there. Yeah, I'll be up there. The Freeze show. How about that? We got Cliff from the Freeze coming on the show. Listen, this is another one that took years. It took years to get this guy on the show. And this is going to be interesting. Cliff's an interesting guy. I go way back with him. Didn't really, this is going to be a good one. The Freeze are an interesting band. You talk about the early Boston hardcore days. Very, very interesting band. So looking forward to having Cliff on the show. That said, I think we're good. Great show today. Thank you, everybody. Hopefully, what's that? Sorry, new to the page, don't know the history. It's okay. We're just happy you're here. Welcome, my friend, to the show that never ends, right? Of course, we put everybody on. We put listen. We have a saying around here. Eventually, everybody's going to be on this fucking show. 300 and something shows already. We do it all, man. Today was great. It was like a chance to talk about some different stuff. The astrology stuff, the Krishna stuff. Thank God, man. They all can't be like me and my old school knucklehead hardcore friends talking about the old days. I mean, those shows are fun, but a guy like Vic, yeah, Allison was great. She was great. That was a great show. We've been doing a lot of great shows. Is that right? Your schedule for episode 120, 100? 120,789. Yeah. Hey, Mick. Nice to see you, buddy. How's things in the great artist, Mick Lambro? How's things in Australia? Yeah, man. Any plans to come up to New York anytime soon? Get your ass back up here. You know? Good. All good down under. Love your work, man. I follow you. I see what you're doing. Keep at it. Who's on for episode 500? Well, what white whales are left? Henry Rollins, Keith Morris, Jello Biafra, Ice-T. Those are the four that are big, like in that world. Of course, there's other people in music and arts that I'd love to talk to. Yeah, we got to get Ace Frehley. So that said, Cheetah Chrome would be great. Hi, honey. Happy Valentine's Day. Hey, I gotta go. Thanks a lot, everybody. Love you guys. Until then, until a week from today, do good things. The good things will come to you.